there's this thing we call fortunate fall,
Fortunately.
where after a lot of stumbling and a lot of
sliding back
and straying will really make you learn the lesson you need to learn.
Yeah.
And it also allows you to take a good look at the real and ugly parts of your own heart. And I guess, God, the Bible says God opposes the proud. And we've been very proud for a while.
Yeah.
Being able to run the course of our own advocacy, believing that it's very successful and we've gained a lot of following. But really, the motivation is no longer centered on our purpose. Yeah. And I think it's a very good thing that, God disciplines His children.
Welcome to another episode of Navigating the Rise. Today I have Stacy and Danah Gutierrez from the Philippines with us today. So I won't go into details of their background because I will have themselves introduce what they do.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Stacy.
And I'm Danah. We are twin sisters. And we started the Body Positive Revolution back in 2009.
Yep.
And then I guess it snowballed into this whole self-love movement.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of things, did some plus-size modeling in the past, wrote a book. We even
we did talks.
We did a lot of public speaking to different companies and universities, colleges and schools. We've even done styling for plus-size girls.
Yeah.
So after that blog, back when we were 18, it gave a lot of opportunities for us to just do the advocacy work and also do some work along media influencing.
Yeah.
Yep. But today
we actually took a break for a while from talking about body positivity and plus size women empowerment. First and foremost, we are Bible-believing Christians. And after just really assessing our faith and really knowing the true gospel, this is when we started questioning the stuff that we've been promoting. I can honestly say that for a time, we were doing it to really talk about biblical womanhood and to talk about God and all of these things. But then as we kept looking at the trends of where the movement was going, we kind of got sidetracked.
Mm-hmm.
And then we lost our main vision for the advocacy. And so we kind of strayed for a bit.
Yeah.
So I guess the messaging there got muddled and it got quite confusing to our audience. And so we had to do a hard stop for a while. Also, this was during a time when we were going through something in our sisterhood, in our twinhood. So yeah, we really had to embark on our own separate journeys. And then now, recently, we just came together again, reconciled,
launched a podcast.
And then we launched a podcast. So now that's what we're doing. We are back online. We are back in the digital world, but no longer in the
body
positivity sphere. And it's no longer on a blog platform. It's really on podcast where we talk about womanhood, our Christian walk, dating, singlehood, and all of these things that are really helpful to other women.
Got it. So your focus now becomes of Christian-based womanhood. Is my understanding correct, or am I missing the mark?
No, that's exactly it.
Got it. So tell me more about that. So what is it that got you interested or pivoted into that area as opposed to what you were doing before? You mentioned there was some confusion, but now you're back. Now you're doing this now. I'm curious about the transition that happened.
Cool. Nice.
Good question.
You really want to know the details. Okay. Well, so my sister shared a while ago that we've gone through a separation phase. It was very painful. It was not expected. And, being codependent for 28 years, it really wasn't a joke. It sort of felt like divorce. I would always say that joke that I've never been married, but I know what divorce feels like. But during that separation, we really got to assess the beliefs we were holding on to and for me personally, I say that I heard the gospel of Jesus when I was 16. I was in college. I was a very young, impressionable lady. But it's very different when you really figure things out and test the things you believe in as an adult.
Yeah.
Like if I say that I have faith on this message, on this gospel, then my life should revolve around that, right? It's only it's only right. But when we separated, I was really going through a lot of anger, and I was on the brink of depression. So I guess there was a lot that was revealed in my heart that time, and it made me really take a good look at myself, whether if I'm really gonna identify as a believer or not. Because during that time, when my sister left and we separated and she moved out, I was so angry and hurt that my tendency was to go back to my old ways. And if we're gonna be blunt about it, I really went back to my promiscuity again, back to substance abuse and all of these things, because I felt like my life has been my sister. Like a lot of the things I've accomplished and done with her. So when that was happening, I felt like my world was also collapsing because we were both advocates, and now I have to go look for a regular job, and now I have to start living alone, and now I have to start cooking for myself and all of these things. So during that time, I got into a really toxic relationship, and it was so bad, very terrible, very self-deprecating. But I think God was still there, and I can boldly say that, yeah, God led me there, and He never stopped talking to me. I never really stopped praying. I never really stopped believing, but it's just that there was this huge struggle in the physical things I was doing in line with the spiritual things I wanted. So finally I had to decide whether I was going to cut ties with that relationship, and so I did. And then after realizing so much and being humbled that way, it's definitely like a rebirth of some sort, that now I feel like my womanhood is so desperate to be founded on the truth of the Bible, because left to myself, I'm going to derail that. I'm going to keep inflicting self-harm. I'm going to destroy the very good things that God has in store for me, left to my own self. So that's how the whole journey to womanhood and wholeness began. And then my sister, of course, has her own story.
Yeah. So during this time, like what my sister said, we've both been professing Christians since we were 16. It was really a great time the first time we heard the gospel, and it just clicked. Coming from a very religious background where it's all rules and laws, and then being presented with the gospel where Jesus has done it already, and He has victory and there is grace. So after hearing that message, we started professing our beliefs as a Christian. And honestly, this was also how the whole body positivity movement came about, because we, at first, like I said earlier, at first our main message was really about God's definition of beauty, where it's not hinged on your looks, it's really about the heart and all of these things. But then since we got swayed, and we started looking at the mainstream messaging of the body positivity movement, where it's really a lot of sexual objectification, a lot of self-gratifying stuff, we got swayed and started preaching that message too. And so I really think that our separation is really necessary. Now I can say that because now we respect each other's boundaries more. We totally understand boundaries. Growing up together, it's been hard because we were raised as twins. Like we're everyone knows us as the twin sisters, as Danah and Stacy, as a package deal. Yeah. And so I guess, after 29 years of being identified as one unit, God used the separation from each other to really just make us whole in ourselves as sisters, to really make us individuate from each other.
Refining.
And to refine us. And so during this time, I got to, when we separated, I also got in a relationship where I can honestly say it was some sort of an idol in my life that really became my world. And um,
I think, I think the codependence really made us try to cope in different ways, but
it's
definitely still try.
somewhat the same.
Yeah,
Like we just replaced each other with boys.
with boys.
Yeah, it's not bad. You at least have company, right?
No, but and then during that time, um, yeah, and so I got in a relationship without really seeing the big red flag of it all, that I was really making this man my world and my everything, which really shouldn't be, right? Because as Christians, God should really be number one in our lives. And so I really got swayed. I really got too focused on the relationship alone. It became my identity and it became just my everything. And so now I'm single again. It's only been almost 3 months of singlehood, but God's been good. God's really carrying me and healing me through it. I feel like God also had to wreck that aspect of my life. So I see that, nothing should really be above God in my life. Not even a good relationship, no matter how good it can be.
It seems like that means that actually maybe God is actually putting you in those situations so that you can actually grow and learn from it. Because had you not went through that trial and tribulations, you would not have become the person you are. So maybe some of the hardships might have been a purpose.
Provision.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. We agree. There's this thing we call fortunate fall, where after a lot of stumbling and a lot of
sliding back
and straying, will really make you learn the lesson you need to learn.
Yeah.
And it also allows you to take a good look at the real and ugly parts of your own heart. And I guess, God, the Bible says God opposes the proud. And we've been very proud for a while.
Yeah.
Being able to run the course of our own advocacy, believing that it's very successful and we've gained a lot of following. But really, the motivation is no longer centered on our purpose.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very good thing that, God disciplines his children. So the fact that we are being disciplined, I mean, right? No good father would not parent his kid the right way. If you see your own child doing something stupid, you wouldn't let that child stay there for long. I mean, you would definitely pick up that child and slap him out of the reality that, hey, you're going to hurt yourself if you keep going down this path or if you keep doing this. So definitely there's been a lot of discipline.
Yep.
But we're very grateful.
Got it. That's definitely good to hear. So I think that there's also a thing called where basically if you don't suffer, you will never know what like the good stuff are. So imagine if you're always brought up, right? Imagine you're always like spoiled or you're always had a good life. You never know. Like for example, I'm in Los Angeles, right? So then the weather is always good. Okay. So I never appreciate how good the weather is until I leave California for Los Angeles for longer than like a year or so, because it's like you just expect, or at least I expected the sun to come out almost every day. If it just rained for one day out of the week, I start complaining, right? So now, and then after living in a different place where it was like cold, like super, super cold, where it hurt, your face hurt just going outside, I realized, wow, I was
take
in a
these
good place.
things for granted. Yeah.
So where are you two located right now?
We are in Manila, Philippines.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's pretty hot here. It's our summertime.
Yeah, it's summer, but we're quarantined, so can't go out unless for like necessities and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been to Manila before. It's nice, except the traffic. The traffic was really was something else. Yeah.
Well, you should come visit again after this whole crazy.
Yeah. I do. I love the hospitality of the Philippines. I have to say that.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so I'm curious about also when it comes to your life, and you're saying you're using Bible and the hardships that you have to showcase who you are now. Um, if for example, whatever happened never happened, how would your life be different now? Yeah.
Oh man, wow, that is
Yeah,
such a
that's a
good
good question.
question.
If that never, man, dude, if that didn't happen to me, I would probably still be on Tinder, making everything about me and my ego and just chasing
Yeah.
all the wrong stuff.
Yeah, I think I'd still be the insecure girl.
Yeah, and we'd still be very, very insecure.
Very insecure, very hungry for male attention, you know? But yeah, thank God for that
Yeah.
discipline.
And also, I think it would, running an advocacy on your ego is really tough. Like,
Yeah.
everything's about us. Every time we get some sort of disagreement with other people, we get so offended.
Yeah.
You're gonna want to control other people, and then at some point, I felt burnt out, honestly, because I felt like all these effort, we're doing so much, representing the country here, and then doing this, and then all of these things, and still I don't see the advocacy moving as much as I'd like. And so it was really all about me and all about how I envisioned it to be. And so if all these trials didn't happen, I'd still be very much self-centered and
Miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So-
remember someone telling me that if you want to see a man be so miserable, give him everything and anything he wants.
Oh, really? I'll be super happy.
Yeah,
That's what you think.
Yeah. If you give me everything I want, I'll be super grateful and happy.
It's not true. You're always gonna want more and more.
Yeah,
and
it
more.
never ends.
No, I'll be super happy and grateful. Don't get me wrong.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. In fact, I'll even like take what I need and give the rest to other people. So I'll be like super like I'll be a philanthropist.
Good for you. That's your plan.
I wish. I mean, talk about ego and all being obsessed. I mean, I was actually, yeah, I was not anymore. I was obsessed with a celebrity. It was so my celebrity crush. So you know how most people when they have a crush on a celebrity, they would just view from afar and be like, oh yeah, it's like a fantasize it. And then so I don't do fantasy, right? So I'm actually thinking about actual plans. How can I actually like date this celebrity, right? And then so we'll have actually started doing a lot of different things, and then actually I made some headway. I was surprised, and then but the thing is I don't know anything about her except that I just think that she might be what I'm looking for, but I have zero knowledge of who that person is, right?
Yeah, it's an idea.
Yeah.
But so then, and then I realized afterwards, just this year, something happened, and I realized like all the girls I've been trying to date were remnants of my high school crush. I didn't realize that. So basically, every girl I want to date or dated, has some similarities in terms of physical appearance as my high school crush. And then once that got uplifted, all the other girls that normally wouldn't find attractive, that were physically attractive, that wouldn't be attracted to, I become attracted to them because the fact that that barrier has been lifted. So it was and then my celebrity crush was also a remnant of my high school crush. And don't get me wrong, she is good looking, but
who's your celebrity crush?
Some girl in Korean in K-pop from the.
All right.
Do you guys know anything about that?
We just know Crash Landing on You. That's it. Everyone's obsessed with that TV show.
I know Blackpink.
So my group is first of all I watched Crash Landing on You in one day.
Oh, wow.
Straight one day, done. And then I didn't sleep, of course. But the girls that I was really attracted to, or I thought I was attracted to, I was in a group called Twice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she's the only Taiwanese girl in that group.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Anyways, but that's a different story for a different time. We go deeper, but let's talk about you and less about me. Yeah. Yeah, it was really it was people thought I was some people thought I was crazy. Some people admire me because I actually had an actionable plan on how to like meet her and stuff. And I actually did meet her in person. So it was I would say all my efforts were not fruitless,
Wasted.
but at the same time the return on my efforts are very bad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's just like reality slapping you back to earth.
it's like it's just not, it doesn't make sense.
I get it.
So from that perspective now, now that you know that this hardship has gone changed you, and you now say that now God is the focal point, right? The Bible is the focal point. So what aspects within the teachings of the Bible that helped you to stay grounded or to maintain that groundness going forward now?
Personally, for me, it's really knowing my sinfulness. The Bible always talks about sin and how, we cannot really be bridged to God when we're sinful, and that's why Jesus had to come and save us from our sins. So at first, I thought I knew about sin since, like I said earlier, we heard the gospel when we were 16, and of course, sin is always part of the gospel. But I guess during that period of my life, I just know it in my head, but it hasn't really sunk deep in my heart to really just know and really believe that I am a sinner. Because from the first time I heard the gospel, when I look back now, it seems like I just treated God and the Bible as a sort of self-help. Like it was a way of self-improvement for me. It wasn't really to have a real relationship with God or to have or to pursue holiness or to be sanctified. It was just
An add-on.
It was just an add-on. Like during that time, I was struggling with drugs. Okay, God's in the picture. I'm gonna go to God now. And then there's this spiritual high that I experienced too. And so I got high off of God. And then when that high died down, I went back to my old ways. So it became that cycle. And I guess honestly, I can say it's because I wasn't really told, or it wasn't repeated to me enough how much of a sinner I am. That it's really not about getting rid of sins because my nature is sinfulness. So it's something I have to wrestle with my entire life. And so now that I really know that, you know what, God, no matter all the improvements, no matter how much effort, or no matter how long I've been clean from drugs, or how long I've been serving the church and all of these things, I will never stop being a sinner. I will never stop having this sinful nature in me that just keeps, it's hard. And so I just really had to come to terms with that and really know my place and see God as God, who is really above everything.
Yeah, and maybe to add to that, I think the word sin is seen as something very archaic, something very, like
Anti-progressive.
It's like that is so
So
old.
judgy.
Yeah, it's so old. It's prehistoric, But if you look at how people are acting today in terms of morality, that we have just totally stripped away the shame that comes with committing a sin, quote unquote. And the Hebrew word for sin means missing the mark. It simply means that your standard has fallen short of God's standard. For example, when Jesus says in the Bible that thou shalt not commit adultery, and then the men will say, sure, I will never commit adultery. I'm loyal to my wife. But God says, yeah, but if you look unto another woman with lust in your heart, you've already committed adultery. And so the standard of God and man are two very distinctive things. And you know how some humans have the tendency to say that, at least I'm not cheating, I'm just stealing. And then someone can say, at least I'm not raping, I'm just cheating. That's you always take that standard one notch higher, but it doesn't apply to you because you like your own sins. We like our own sins. I have my own propensities. I have my own tendencies. And so when we say the word sin, it is very much alive in our time today. And we see it with how certain laws are being pushed for, certain, even just how television has changed, or the shows that we've seen from the 50s up to today, the stark differences of the values being promoted. Definitely there's a decline in morality. And so to me, the guiding principle of the Bible is that it will always be my basis for truth, because truth today is very shifty, right? Like your truth, my truth. Let's not give a damn about each other's consequences regarding those truths, as long as you're not hurting anyone, quote unquote. Then you live your truth, I live my truth. But in the end, there is the truth that I think our society has long forgotten. And it may sound so archaic and barbaric to say that it's so anti-progressive, but everything that we deem progress has really also gave birth to a lot of consequences that we don't want to admit, because as a society we'd like to think that we've made progress, we're pushing for better humanity, but at the end of the day, the rates for depression, the rates for suicide, the rates for all of these negative things are on a rise. So I don't mean to sound very rigid about this, but to me that's how it impacted my life. That now that there's a sort of rebirth and a sort of U-turn that happened in my life, I can very definitely say, very much agree and say that yeah, the Bible has the final authority over my life. Whether I agree or disagree, the Bible will stand true on itself, and it's foundational.
So you rise again. Got it.
Yes.
Yes.
So kind of, if I'm going to shorten what you said into a couple of core points, it just seems like first, when you said about ego and about the sinfulness or the negative traits about yourself, it seems that as opposed to before, where trying to latch on to spirituality for the high or for finding something else, it might be a way to cover up your negative traits using something else. And then now you're able to accept yourself completely. Okay, this is what I'm bad at. I'll face it. I'll work on it. As opposed, let me try to hide it with something else. And when people attack you, you say, no, you're wrong. I'm right. Right. So that's one core area that I can see what you're saying. Second, as you mentioned about using the word sin, as not less about shame, as more lay person treated as, but more of a standard. It's more like here are the standard. When the Bible mentions shame, it's more about you're not living up to a standard that has been set, and so you should feel shame. You should feel like sinful because you are sinful because not because you are a bad person, but because the fact that you lowered your standards in life. And then the third thing I noticed is that you mentioned about truth, about different perspectives. And then if you know, based on scientific studies, that we don't see the truth individually at all. The reason that is the case is that we cannot process every bit of information. So what happens is our eyes and everything else filters a lot of information out so that we can only pick up the relevant information. So what that means is every one of us has our own unique filters on looking at different things. So our version of truth is only a small part of the truth. There's no truth, the whole truth. You can say that. So what happened then? The actual truth cannot really be seen by a naked eye or by your ears or nothing. It's more about transcending the senses, right? Or seeing the fourth dimension or something else where you're not creating biases. So even in the technology space, such as artificial intelligence, right? That is also has a lot of biases. The reason it has biases is because the people that's working on the product are biased. So, so because of that, even the data can be perfect, but the person manipulating the data are biased, and that can cause a lot of issues with that. So those are the key things I kind of picked up from your conversation or stories. Did I miss the mark, or is something else that you want to like add?
I think we're good.
Cool.
Lastly, maybe it would be that I think every religion, quote unquote, or every religion should answer basic questions that man has. For example, um, what is my origin? Who am I? And then there's also
What's wrong with the
what's
world?
wrong with the world? Why? And then the next one would be, how do we solve what's wrong with the world? And the last is, what's the meaning and purpose of all this? I'm sure each one of us in deep thought would have asked ourselves, why am I here? What am I even doing here? Why did my parents have to give birth to me? All of these things. And if we study the many religions in the world, they will have one version of an answer to each of those questions. And, God honors our free will. We have the power to choose, we have the capability and the capacity to decide and reason. So, we have gone through different religions ourselves. We've tried Taoism, Buddhism, not Buddhism, Brahmanism, and even local cults. And it's because our grandmother was very much a religious person, and it doesn't have to be. It's not necessarily a good thing. So she was very religious, and growing up, we've seen her go through many different altars and do many different sacrifices. And at the end of it, when we ask the hard stuff, there's not much answer given. But when we study the Bible and the richness of it and everything that God has instituted for humanity to flourish in terms of design and specific design, we very much see the clarity of His beautiful plan for humanity that we keep rejecting and we keep refusing because of our, again, sinful nature. So, yeah, I guess I just wanted to throw that in because some people might say, that's all you've known all your life. Of course you're biased, but no, we've definitely seen many religions across our lifetime, and we can definitely attest and say that the Bible is the one that answers everything logically and perfectly. I mean, yeah.
So interesting. So when it comes to going through, you mentioned about going through different religions, trying to figure out which one you want to stick with. So what are some of the challenges that come about in terms of choosing the one that you want to go into, as well? What are some of the things that you noticed that you thought was really hard to commit to, but would become really easy?
Mhm.
I think the search wasn't really to get to one that we're gonna like. It's really just the truth. Like among all these religions, which is the way that's gonna give us eternal life? Which one is the truth? And so I guess all these other religions that we've been to, it really didn't satisfy our hearts. It was still more of doing,
Yeah,
performing,
a lot of performance.
a lot
Yeah.
of sacrifice, a lot of prayer inside a specific location. But in the Bible, God says that we are the church, the believers are the church, and we can pray anywhere.
Anywhere.
There is no more limitations to when or where you can access God. As long as you believe in Jesus and you repent, you can pray anytime, anywhere. And so there's that. And there's also just this deep peace and this deep sense of joy that
Fruits.
we experience. It's also the fruit of the Holy Spirit. It's just the divine power of God blessing us with His richness. So these are all the other things, because with other religions, it's just really do this, do that, don't do that.
And a
Or,
lot of self-exertion,
yeah, it's
self-reliance
still
too.
relying on ourselves. But Jesus is the only God who ever claimed to be the Son of God, who ever claimed that it is done. You don't have to do anything anymore. I've done it for you. All you have to do is trust my name and believe me. And so there's that also. And Jesus is the only one who conquered death. So the resurrection is real. Historically speaking, there's just, it just, it's I guess you're gonna have to have your own biases to really refute that it happened, because historically speaking, we have so much evidence. There's so much manuscripts and um, other proofs to prove that Jesus did rise from the dead. So yeah.
So it seems that, I mean, if I can understand that. So when we're going on this journey, or not really the search, but just see which one resonate with you, the two things that really spoke to you when deciding a direction are the peace that you found, as
Mhm.
well as the deep joy that you found. And in your case, it was through the Bible. So that means whoever is looking for a path or a religion, whatever it is, they should use those two as one of the core, you can say, internal compass in terms of finding out what kind of values they should inherit.
Not really. I wouldn't say that because we all have a different gauge on how to feel joy and peace and happiness. That's why other people looking for peace and joy end up end up getting into cults, because it's a different experience for them. So I guess it's really
The mind.
the the mind and looking for the truth. We can't just rely on our emotions and our feelings and say that, hey, this is the real thing because this is where I feel
The
most
best.
most
Yeah.
joyful or most at peace. But then, you also have
So-
to assess what is the fruits of those things, because there are cults who just indulge in sexual activities and they're like, oh, we're peaceful and we're joyful, but it's just one giant orgy. Like, no, that's not the point.
Hey,
I think
Burning
what-
Man.
Exactly. So I guess the point is really the truth and being more like your master, and whoever master you choose, that's gonna make you holier, if that makes sense.
So let me rephrase that then. It's more like figure out what's the actual truth that's not based on your own perception, but
Yes.
also choose what values that you want to
Yes.
live out your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
Cool. So we're near the end of our show. So I want to summarize everything we talked about. So
Nice.
first of all, we basically talked about your work, where it's talked about your focus a lot on self-love, transition that more using spiritual, or in this case, religion of the Bible as a way for um, help guide women who are of Christian faith how to live their life, or help them live their life. And then you mentioned about how not to chase after the wrong things. Sometimes the wrong things are just masks of your own negativity, and that sinfulness is a way to elevate your standards as opposed to feeling shame. And then being sure to really accept yourself completely so that you can try and overcome and face your negative traits. And lastly, you mentioned about the truth, finding out what that is, and then choose what kind of values you want to live based on that, based on that truth, and that should be your direction in life. Am I missing anything? Is there anything else that you want to add?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's been a good conversation, George.
Yeah, same here. So if people want to reach you, how would you want them to contact you?
Well, we're on Instagram. Our podcast is on Instagram. It's rawandreal.mp3. Those are words, full words, rawandreal.mp3. And they can check out our podcast on Spotify as well. But it's we speak Tagalog English. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Might
But
be hard, but
yeah, we're there. And then we have our personal accounts too. So they can just search Stacey Gutierrez and Danah Gutierrez. We should come up on Instagram. So yeah, that is
Cool.
it for us.
All right. Thank you, Stacy and Danah. Appreciate it.
Thanks, George. This was a
George.
fun morning. Thanks for
Yeah.
having us.
Same. Thanks for making the time.